Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Ben, this is Ben Talks Balls, and welcome back to another video. As you all know, the UEFA Champions League has returned with the round of 16 and of course the quarterfinals to be played very soon. So today I thought I could have a look and give my predictions on the following fixtures all the way up to the final to give just my opinion on how things are going to go, and I'm probably going to be 100% wrong in most of my predictions, but it's just a little bit of fun. So let's get started. So of course there's still 4 fixtures to be played in the round of 16 by the likes of Bayern Munich, who will be facing up against Chelsea in the second leg in Bavaria, a return leg at Camp Nou for Barcelona against Napoli, Juve squaring up against Olympique Lyon, and of course Manchester City at the Etihad against Real Madrid. There are also 4 other teams that have qualified to the quarterfinals already, that being RB Leipzig, who will have to play Atletico Madrid in their fixture, and of course Atalanta, who will play PSG. Now, on to my predictions for the remaining fixtures in the round of 16. Bayern Munich up against Chelsea is almost a foregone conclusion. The Bavarians come into the fixture with obviously a 3-0 lead after having smashed Chelsea in the earlier game, with, of course, Robert Lewandowski and Serge Gnabry running riot on the Blues' defense. Coming into this fixture, I'm quite confident in saying Hansi Flick's men will comfortably stroll past Frank Lampard's Blues because of the form they've been in. Despite not having played competitive football for quite a while, I fully expect them to continue their already brilliant form and Robert Lewandowski to run riot again. The man has been on an absolute tear recently. He scored 42 goals in 41 games, mind you. That is just an exceptional output from an exceptional player. It's also important to note the likes of Christian Pulisic and Cesar Azpilicueta as well as Willian will be out injured. So Chelsea really don't have that many options going forward. They have to rely on using Mason Mount and Olivier Giroud again, who look quite tired against Arsenal in the FA Cup final. It's also important to note that their defense is going to be absolutely barren. They'll have to start the likes of Andreas Christensen and Antonio Rudiger up against a forward line of Thomas Muller, Robert Lewandowski, and Serge Gnabry. That is frightening for any Chelsea fans. I do feel for them, but hey, you want to play with the best, that is the sort of thing you're going to have to expect. So, on to the next fixture, we have Barcelona up against Napoli. Barcelona, of course, ended their league season poorly. They cracked under the pressure and succumbed to a title defeat against Real Madrid. Messi having to do most of the work by himself. Messi has had to carry them for the whole season, even after having suffered some games out injured. He's got 22 assists and 25 goals, which is absolutely phenomenal, but it is important to note that his goal return has dropped compared to the recent years. He grabbed 36 last year, I think, and it's quite sad considering he has to do everything by himself. In the past, he had the likes of Xavi Hernandez, Andreas Iniesta, and Neymar Jr. supplying him with world-class through balls, with world-class setups. Now he doesn't really have anyone. Antoine Griezmann is off form. Ansu Fati is just breaking into the team, having broken through earlier this season, and Luis Suarez has had to sit out most of the season with an injury. He hasn't scored an away goal in the Champions League for God knows how long. So I'd imagine that he'll really struggle considering he won't be playing at home for the remaining fixtures if they do qualify after this round of 16 game against Napoli. They really did look barren and dull in their remaining fixtures, losing to Osasuna, their final home game. That's really poor. And they lost another title to Zinedine Zidane. They'll really affect the confidence. And they just look very threadbare in terms of their options. They let go Arthur, who has refused to play in the Champions League, saying he'll stay in Brazil. And I think it's kind of ironic. Bartomeu is absolutely running this team to the ground. He told Arthur to leave, and then he's acting all surprised when the Brazilian doesn't want to play for the team anymore in the Champions League. It's ridiculous. Bartomeu is really destroying Barcelona. It's kind of sad to see considering how great a team they were to watch during the Pep Guardiola days. But that's how it is right now. The only way for Barcelona to really fix it is if they get rid of Bartomeu and they have a competent president, which unfortunately doesn't look to come in the near future. Defense-wise, Longley has had a solid season, but it's important to note how aging the likes of Gerard Piqué and Jordi Alba will be right back. They don't really have a true starter. I don't really trust Nelson Tomato to carry that right hand flank with Messi going inside, or Sergio Roberto, really, to be honest, because they don't really scream to me world class right backs whenever I look at them play. Aside from that, we of course have to note Napoli. They have won the Coppa Italia recently, earlier in the month. Sorry, last month. But Gennaro Gattuso's team has slipped all the way down to 7th behind Roma and AC Milan. AC Milan, by the way, they've been on phenomenal form. Anyways, Gennaro Gattuso, I feel he tried to bring the forwards back to the forefront with him switching the system to 4-3-3 in attack, giving the trident of Lorenzo Insigne, Dries Mertens, and Jose Callejon freedom to roam forward, with them taking up their space in the team. However, they've not exactly been electric, with Lorenzo Insigne really underperforming this season. In the Serie A this season, he's only got 8 goals and 6 assists in 37 games compared to last year where he played 28, and he still managed to get 10 goals. It's really sad to see a talented player like him dropping off, but that's how it is. Arkadiusz Milik as well, he's not been bad, but I believe he's going to leave soon, so that's not going to fare well for the Italian team. I think overall, you look at the team, there are a lot of players that want out. I heard Kalidou Koulibaly and Alon aren't exactly happy with chairman De Laurentiis' reign currently. He's not been exactly the nicest chairman, with him booting out Carlo Ancelotti earlier in the season. They didn't really sit well with a lot of the core players. So I think this Napoli team, they have a lot of problems. Barcelona as well have a lot of problems, but the difference is one team has Messi and the other doesn't. So I think Messi will still manage to carry this team through to the next quarterfinals. Overall, Barcelona, of course, they're going to come up and win against Napoli at Camp Nou. They have an away goal. On to the next fixture. So, of course, the next fixture, from one GOAT to another, it's Cristiano Ronaldo's Juve coming up against Olympique Lyon. Now, Juve, they've not looked convincing this season, let's be honest. They look absolutely labored in midfield. There's a lack of creativity. And having watched the previous leg, they lost 1-0, of course, to Lyon. They just looked uninspired. Didn't have much cutting edge in that first fixture. Their only real sort of spark going into attack was Paulo Dybala. La Joya, of course, creating and assisting. He's been phenomenal, and he was just recently named as Serie A MVP of the year. What a player he is, by the way. He's been absolutely phenomenal for Juve, and he's their real spark of creativity, and his ability to link up with Ronaldo has really unlocked Ronaldo's goal-scoring capabilities. He did finish behind Ciro Immobile in the scoring charts, however, but he's still been absolutely phenomenal this season, scoring, I believe it was 36 goals overall. Ronaldo, of course, is a threat whenever he plays in the Champions League, but this Juve team just don't look good at all, you know. In midfield, they lack creativity. Blaise Matuidi and Adrian Rabiot have not exactly been brilliant creative outlets, while Federico Bernardeschi down the right-hand side has looked really poor whenever I've watched him play. They really have a lot of problems in this team. Maurizio Sarri hasn't exactly got his stamp on this team just yet. So it'll be interesting to see how they progress in the remaining fixtures. However, it's important to note though, Rudy Garcia's Lyon isn't exactly sparkling. They did lose on penalties to PSG in the Coupe de France recently. They've got a great amount of talent, you know, Memphis Depay, Houssem Aouar, Moussa Dembele. They've got some good players going forward, but I think overall this team is not meshing well together. Rudy Garcia, I don't believe he's the right man for the job. Looking at this fixture, you cannot count out Cristiano Ronaldo in the Champions League. He's going to absolutely dominate for sure, so I expect the GOAT of the Champions League to come up trumps once more and to knock out Lyon, with Paulo Dybala assisting him probably. So Juve on to the quarterfinals, where they'll face one of Manchester City or Real Madrid. So Manchester City versus Real Madrid. Who do I think will win in this fixture? Looking at Manchester City, they were the best team in the Premier League when you look at statistics post restart. I believe they topped the table. Behind them, of course, was Manchester United, funnily enough. And Kevin De Bruyne is world class. What else do you have to say about him? He's got 20 assists in the league, coupled with 13 goals. He's matched Thierry Henry's assist record. What a player he is. Phenomenal talent. And he's just been world class this season. Untouchable in that City lineup. certainly he is going to start alongside Raheem Sterling and probably Gabriel Jesus, who has been on decent form recently. Raheem Sterling as well, he's notched 20 goals in the league, which is a phenomenal output from a player once much maligned. Of course, we have Riyad Mahrez, who is a really tricky winger, alluring, very talented on the ball. He can spin you anywhere across the pitch, and he's a real threat down that right-hand side, coming up against either Ferland Mendy or Marcelo. Of course, their real problems this season has been their defense. Fernandinho having to deputize the centre back most of the time. In their back line, Emerick Laporte will hopefully be back for Manchester City. I believe he will play in this game. And I think the real liability for me at the moment is Benjamin Mendy at left back. He has been poor every time I watched him play. Every time he gives away the ball cheaply, he's out of position, allowing the right winger to get a run over him. So it's interesting to note how this game will play out. Real Madrid, of course, were the best team post restart. They, of course, have one of the best defenses in Europe. In fact, I believe they do have the best defensive record in Europe. 26 goals conceded. That's a phenomenal output in the league, by the way. Even better than Atletico Madrid. Important player in their team is, of course, Karim Benzema. What a season he's had. He's leading them in both goals and assists this season. Another player that has come up with goals for them in recent times is, of course, Sergio Ramos. The their captain has 10 goals from defense. What a player. I know it's important to note he takes penalties and he has taken a phenomenal free kick in the past. But he's had a really good season, and without them, they look bereft of any leadership in the back line. Rafael Varane, say what you want about him, but without Ramos, he does not look like the same player. And it's important as well that they get him into the game. Unfortunately, they won't be getting him into the game because he's suspended after being sent off for a poor foul in the previous game. I think it was on Gabriel Jesus, I don't exactly remember. But yeah, without him, they're really going to suffer because they don't have much leadership in the backline. Carvajal got absolutely rinsed in the previous game against Gabriel Jesus, and Marcelo is slowing down due to age. So without Sergio Ramos, I do expect Kevin De Bruyne to absolutely tear them apart. But before that, though, I think it's important to note how well Toni Kroos and Luka Modric have been playing in midfield. They look absolutely renewed. But Kevin De Bruyne is a different sort of player compared to what they are now, considering how old they are. So I expect Pep Guardiola's Manchester City to progress into the quarterfinals past Real Madrid. So the lineup for the quarterfinals would be, of course, RB Leipzig against Atletico Madrid, Atalanta versus PSG, Bayern Munich against Barcelona, Manchester City versus Juventus. So after having given my predictions for the round of 16, it's important now to move on to the quarterfinals. I'll start off by talking about RB Leipzig against Atletico Madrid. So in this fixture we have Julian Nagelsmann, the 30-year-old young tactician, coming up against the gritty, ever-pragmatic, robust Argentinian Diego Simeone, with RB Leipzig against Atletico Madrid. Of course, Atletico Madrid will be setting up in their favorite approach 4-4-2, deep block, two banks of four. They're going to frustrate the hell out of RB Leipzig. It's also important to note that RB Leipzig will lose their best player in Timo Werner, as he's already joined Chelsea and he's bailed out on their Champions League campaign, unfortunately for them. So I think they'll really struggle to find cutting edge against this Atletico defense. They've looked well improved after restart. They've managed to squeak past Sevilla into third, and Marcos Llorente has looked really good even after the Anfield performance he showed. He's been played in a more advanced role recently, and he's linked up brilliantly with Alvaro Morata. João Felix as well, he's performed really well. He's improved on his past poor showings and is looking like a real threat whenever he goes forward. The defense is always as solid, with the likes of Renan Lodi and Felipe performing exceptionally. Felipe is a fantastic player, by the way. He is one of the best defenders I've watched this season. Aside from that, Leipzig, they have an amazing amount of creative players. You look at Marcel Sabitzer, Emil Forsberg, and of course Christopher Nkunku behind Yusuf Poulsen. Unfortunately, I just don't think they've been on good form post-restart. They weren't bad, but they really struggled to keep up the pace that they showed in the earlier exchanges of the season. They dropped down all the way to third, from a potential title challenge. So that's unfortunate for Nagelsmann. I think he will come back next season and perform better considering they have reinforcements, particularly Huang Hee-chan joining from RB Salzburg, their partner club. So unfortunately for Nagelsmann, they'll be bowing out in the quarterfinals against Diego Simeone's Atletico Madrid. Next, of course, is free-scoring Atalanta up against Thomas Tuchel's Paris Saint-Germain. Atalanta this season have, of course, been again phenomenal. This is their first season in the Champions League, and earlier on in their campaign, in fact, a lot of people didn't think they'd be able to qualify, but here they are now in the quarterfinals. Gasperini's men have been brilliant this season, with Alejandro Gomez and Luis Muriel really contributing to the success. And of course, don't forget Josip Ilicic, who unfortunately might not be able to play the game due to personal reasons. I do feel for him, it's unfortunate, but it'll be a real loss for Atalanta if he's unable to play due to his mental state at the moment. Anyways, Atalanta, what's important, of course, to take from watching them is how good their attack has been. They're one of the top scorers in Europe. In fact, they are better than Antonio Conte's Inter Milan and Maurizio Sarri's Juve, who are the two top teams in Italy, and have been absolutely relentless again this season. They do have some good all-round players in the back, Martin de Roon. They're good players, solid players, and even if Ilicic doesn't play, they can call on Mario Pasalic to come off, the former Chelsea player, of course, to play right behind Alejandro Gomez and Luis Muriel, or even Duvan Zapata. PSG side, though, unfortunately for them, they do not have Kylian Mbappe to call on because he was injured horrifically against Saint-Etienne. But they have played two finals recently and won both finals. Having watched the highlights, they weren't exactly convincing, with them only winning 1-0 against Saint Etienne and them labouring to a 0-0 draw, having to beat Lyon on penalties to secure their domestic treble. I just feel that this PSG team is about to collapse for whatever reason. I just have a weird feeling. Thiago Silva is about to leave on a free. Edinson Cavani, the top scorer of all time, is also going to leave on a free. So I'm not sure how the cohesion is going to work. You cannot count off a PSG team, especially a PSG team with Neymar in their attack. So I'm quite undecided with this prediction. It's also noteworthy though that Atalanta have played game after game after game in a competitive level in the league, while PSG have only played 2 competitive games in their last week or two. So in terms of overall match sharpness, you could say Atalanta are more prepared for this fixture when compared to PSG. I kind of want Atalanta to win. I really want them to win. They're considered the underdogs. Despite how well they played this season, people are still considering them underdogs. So I'm going to back Atalanta to beat PSG and move to the semi-finals, the first time in their history in the competition, where we had a success story last season with Ajax. Why can't we have Atalanta this season? So I'm going to back Atalanta to beat PSG in the quarterfinals and face up against Atletico Madrid. So on to the next quarterfinals. We have, of course, Bayern Munich versus Barcelona and Manchester City versus Juve. First, we go to Bayern Munich's tie against the Catalonian team. Hansi Flick, of course, has done a phenomenal job in rejuvenating this Bayern team. The old guard, Jerome Boateng, Thomas Muller, they've all really bought into his philosophy and they've performed exceptionally. Thomas Muller delivering one of the best creative records in the European season as a whole over the course of history. That's how good he's been this season. He's had one of the best seasons as a creator ever. He's been phenomenal. For Lewandowski, what can I say? He's one of the best players in the world, probably the best player in the world at the moment, up against a Barcelona team with the greatest player of all time, Lionel Messi. As I said previously, Quique Setien hasn't exactly found a proper system. He keeps rotating. He said in press conferences he wants to find the best system for Messi. If he keeps chopping and changing his systems, he's not going to find a suitable formation for this team to play. They're not going to be familiar with how to play. And coming up against such an astute tactician like Hansi Flick, I just don't see any way this Barcelona team is going to find a solution to the problem that is Bayern Munich. They are such a balanced team. In defense, they have David Alaba, they have Niklas Süle returning from injury, they have Alphonso Davies running down the left-hand side brilliantly, they have Joshua Kimmich holding down and anchoring the midfield brilliantly. Leon Goretzka has had a brilliant return from the restart. Thiago Alcantara is a world-class player in his own right. They're going to need a historic performance from Messi in order to qualify. However, I'm sorry, I just don't see how Bayern are going to lose this. So, of course, Bayern Munich into the semi-finals, where they'll face either Manchester City against Juve. Juve, as I said, they look very late, but their midfield lacks creativity. Bernardeschi is underperformed. Higuain is not at his best levels. Defensively, Chiellini and Bonucci not exactly world-class level in the past. Alexandro having another off year. I don't know, this Juve team needs a lot of surgery. They have so many players above the age of 30 that deserve to go. If Juve want to compete again at the top level, they can't be relying on these sort of players to play for them in every game they play. So, unfortunately, as I said, quality of Kevin De Bruyne, Gabriel Jesus, and Raheem Sterling in attack, they're solid enough, they're good enough to trounce this Juve team quite comfortably, unfortunately for Maurizio Sarri. Maurizio Sarri as well has not exactly shown the minerals of a top-class winner. So Pep Guardiola, who's had experience in his competition previously, I'm sorry, Juve dumped out in the quarterfinals. Pep Guardiola's team onto the semis where they'll face Hans-Dieter Flick's Bayern Munich. On to the semi-finals, Atletico Madrid versus Atalanta, of course, being the first semi-final I will be talking about. Atalanta have really impressed me, as I said earlier, but coming up against a very well-drilled Atletico Madrid team, I fear for them. Unfortunately for Gianpiero Gasperini's team, a one-off game really fits Atletico's style of play, and as you saw earlier in the Champions League round of 16, they're going to be fighting, they're going to show grit and determination to grind out a result here against Atalanta. So unfortunately for them, the immovable object will hold firm against the unstoppable force that is Atalanta. I believe Atletico Madrid will progress to the finals. Next semi-final, we of course have Bayern Munich coming up against Pep Guardiola, his former team. If we look at his record in the Champions League against his former clubs, Pep Guardiola has won 2 and lost 2, which is not a bad record. But if I were to view this objectively, I think Bayern Munich's squad is so well-rounded. Defense, midfield, attack, they are world-class players littered across their squad. Compared to Manchester City, who despite them having good midfielders and good attackers, they don't have a defense that is comparable to Bayern Munich's. Just imagine this. Serge Gnabry running straight at Benjamin Mendy. What do you think will happen? And does Nicolas Otamendi exactly scream to you, world-class centre-back? I don't think so. Bayern Munich have solid players across. Niklas Süle, as I mentioned, is returning. What a fantastic defender he has proven to be in the past. David Alaba, his ability to progress the ball with his dynamic passing is going to be a real problem for the City defense to contend with. And I just feel overall Bayern Munich have the minerals to defeat Manchester City. Unfortunate for Pep Guardiola, but better luck next time. Bayern Munich into the final versus Atletico Madrid. So the final then. How do I think this will play out? As I mentioned, Atletico Madrid, frustrating. Bayern Munich, well-rounded and world-class. If I were to be biased and just give the result I want to happen, I'd say I want Diego Simeone to win. I don't know, he's very endearing. And you know what? I'm gonna go with my heart. They're gonna beat Hansi Flick's Bayern Munich. They're gonna win their first Champions League in their history after falling short at 2 finals, after having calls go against them in one of those finals unfairly, offside goals, penalties not given. Atletico Madrid, they deserve to finally get their reward after pushing hard for their Champions League glory in the past. And guess what? At the start of the season, people have been doubting their ability to win. People have been saying their team going through transition. When they were drawn up against Liverpool, everyone thought it was a foregone conclusion. But Atletico Madrid proved their doubters wrong. And I expect them to prove them wrong again. And they'll prove them wrong by lifting the Champions League for the first time in their history. Diego Simeone being the first manager in Atletico Madrid's history to have won the Champions League with them. However, I do believe Hansi Flick will eventually go on to win the Champions League with Bayern Munich. probably winning it next year and emulating Jupp Heynckes by winning a Champions League final after losing the previous year. He'll also probably go on to win the treble with the club. So that's my opinion. It's a very controversial opinion. You can disagree, you can agree, but leave your predictions down in the comments below if you want to. Anyways, if you enjoyed me rambling, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.